Before I cross the bridge, I've stopped here at the southern end of it to visit a reconstructed colonial fort, Fort Michilimackinac. Michilimackinac? Anyway, it was set up here by the French. It was a crossroads for the fur trade. What we've got is other side of the bridge. That's Lake Huron. This side of the bridge is Lake Michigan, and they would bring in supplies from Montreal and go back loaded down with the fur. It did trade hands between the British and the French, and so let's go take a look at the fort. So this is a pretty extensively rebuilt fort. It's actually built on the sites of the original, but if you take a look, there's all kinds of buildings and displays. A nice display down here of the history of the fort, or the different stages of the fort. This one would have looked like it's 1715 to 1730, and then it grew so into the 1744. We got this size, and then by 1761 they had added more defenses, and 1779 even bumped it out a little bit, added some more guard towers and protection, and 1779 to 81 to 1781. The archaeologists have dug up more than 1 million bones from animals and whatnot on the site. But what they've concluded is that the French adopted the Native American diet of fish and other wild plants during the summer. It'd be basically the same as the natives did. With the British, when they took over, they had more domestic animals: cows, sheep, pigs, chickens, so they found more of that. So two different diets for two different periods. Of course, along with the French fur traders came the Jesuits, and they actually not only had the crosses and the crucifixes, but had these like trade rings, which I've never seen before. So this is the priest's house, and he had quite a large cellar, because part of what happened is that the ties from the local community would be in the way of food, and he would need a large root cellar to store it. And a priest wouldn't have to go outside to get over to the church.
Looks like a bunch of monkeys picking bugs at each other, right?
I wasn't going to say that, but I do have that recorded now.
Hey, it's on film, forever and ever.
Hair care of the British soldier. So all the buildings in this fort are built on the original locations, and in each time they've done the archaeological dig. This is a row house, or the middle unit of a row house, which would be similar to this one over here. Basically what he told me is that any place you see grass here is places they haven't excavated yet. So, I mean, they get down to, there's a post there, the rock probably would have been part of the foundation, but you can see how deep they had to go. And some of these buildings actually have glass plates in the floor where you can look down through at where the excavation was and see the actual original foundations and such. And quite a few buildings have, you can go down into the basement there where the original foundations are. And in this case, going down to where the Potter magazine remnants are. So this is the remnants of the Potter magazine, and you can see it's, you know, charcoal where the logs for the walls and a lot of the floorboards. And as we come around this way, you can see more of the walls and stuff. With the outbreak of the American Revolution, they didn't get a lot of, weren't able to get supplies up here, so they had to buy their powder from locals. But in the late in the war, they moved the fort over to Mackinac Island, and rather than move the tear down those buildings, they burned them, which is why we see all this charcoal. And it's, you see where there's like, there's the boards are real close together here. There's big holes where there's gaps. That's where treasure hunters had dug down through before this became a historic spot or a historic park in 1933 and be protected. There's not a whole lot of Potter magazine related items they found here because the British emptied out before they destroyed it. But they did find things like gun flints and musket balls that somebody had dropped. They were down into the in between the floorboards, and so that's sort of cool.
Left side swing! Load! Place it into the barrel. Then we'll grab it right down, cover it. Then we'll unwrap the sponge from the rammer. Use that to push. Let's try this again. Take ready. Fire!
This is going to conclude my visit here to Fort Michilimackinac. I'm butchering that. Anyway, if you get up here, you're headed up to the UP, you get to the base of the Mackinac Bridge, and it's well worth a visit. This is a very well reconstructed fort. Very fascinating with the archaeological aspects of it. So I'm going to get on the road and head across the bridge. See you later, YouTube. This is going to conclude my my visit here to Fort Michilimackinac.